And then if I'm being completely honest, when you're 27 years old and 40 grand is in your checking account, I blew it.
Yeah.
I mean, not all of it, but I hit the club. I bought all my buddies shots. We were like, I just didn't know what to do with myself a little bit.
Right.
I've gotten a lot more savvy with my finances and financially, but
Welcome to How to Real Estate Podcast, a podcast to help you start, elevate, and catapult your real estate investing career. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new podcasts that we post every single Monday. Jared tested.
Jana approved.
Hi guys, this is Jared.
And Jana.
This is welcome to How to Real Estate Podcast. Today we're both really excited to bring on this guest. He's been doing real estate for almost 5 years now, and what's really impressive is that he came from making $30,000 a year to $250,000 a year. And it's really cool what real estate can do to change your life. And he's actually even helped to retire his parents. That's something I would love to do. And also he's done well over 30 deals in his real estate career.
Umaer Haq.
And he's a real estate professional. And Umaer, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining us.
yeah, man, thanks for having me on today. It's a pleasure to be on, and it's Umaer.
Umaer. Yeah, Umaer.
So where are you? What part of the country are you at?
Yeah, I'm about 25 minutes out from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. We live here in Northern Virginia, the Virginia area.
Sweet.
All right. Are you from Virginia, or are you guys a different state, or what?
Yeah. I was born and raised here, man. I'm a Virginian.
You're Virginia?
Is that where you do most of the deals? Do you stick locally, or?
I have been D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. I've almost done stuff out in Florida, but now I'm looking at doing some stuff in Missouri, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Missouri.
So why out there?
Well, there's a little town, not a little town, but there's a little niche for short-term rentals in Missouri. It's called Silver City, Missouri. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but apparently it's one of the best places to go to during Christmas time in the whole world.
What?
Like this, I'm serious. Look it up, Silver City, Missouri. So I was looking at stuff, and it's got like theme parks. It's got Ripley's Believe It or Not. It's got boats. It's got just like all this stuff that I never even knew about.
Yeah.
And we might do some short-term rentals out there because the cash flow just makes sense. I've got to connect, and so. But yeah, to answer your question, just DC, Maryland.
Well, the rules might be different then, right? Or are they fairly similar in the different states that you do deals in?
So you just got to look up the state ordinances, which is not hard to do. So I did look it up, and it's all good there.
So tell me, man. You were working. What were you doing before you started doing real estate? What was and kind of tell us a little bit of your story, your progression from making $30K to $250,000 a year. That's super interesting.
Yeah, so I guess the better question is, what was I not doing? Hustling, man. I don't have like a traditional college degree. I tried to do like the whole community college thing for a while. Just sucked at that. I'm not good at traditional learning. You'll notice I'm a little ADD. So I was delivering food for a local company called Postmates here. I don't know if they have them where you guys are at, but Postmates. I was a personal trainer. I did some pro boxing and mixed martial arts. You guys can look up some of my fights on YouTube.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that. Yeah, I saw that. It's cool.
Look some up, man. You'll be surprised. But, I was around 26, 27. My older sister is a fourth grade teacher, so she got me a job with the school system here. Not as a teacher because I don't have a degree, but as it's called it's a SAC program that stands for school age childcare. And so I would work and babysit basically kids before school and after school. And I loved it. It was great. I was living the life. I love kids. And I just wasn't making the money I wanted. So then I went and I met awesome people like you guys and networked and went on a mission to start learning real estate, and one thing led to another. So that's kind of my background, and I'm still learning. I learn from people all the time. So it's a little bit of background of what I was doing, but I was just trying to figure out a way to make some money and create a life and be married and just live life on my terms. You know, I've noticed a lot of things happening with my friends in college, and I just wanted to be able to create something that was my own, that no one can take away from me. So that's kind of what led me into finding real estate.
Yeah. So how long did it take you when you first started to, we started to network, you started getting educated, to actually feel like you were able to quit your other jobs, you were able to do this full time? So how long did that take you for that journey?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story. So when I officially started my business, it was a hard time in my life because I come from a foreign background. And my parents wanted me to go to school, get a job, get a degree, and they were really upset that I was chasing this real estate thing. Right? They're like, "You're an idiot." And so when I'll just really so. I quit my job at the school system here, and my dad actually had kicked me out of his house. He was just done with me. So I moved into my brother's basement here in Woodbridge, Virginia, which is not too far from where I was at. And I quit my job, which I probably shouldn't have done prematurely. So don't do that. Right? But I literally locked myself in a room and just committed myself to learning this stuff. So I got started with an education company that I found, and they just seemed legit. So I literally would lock myself in a room and would take my classes for 8 hours and give myself 30 minutes of lunch. And it took me about 8 months to get my first fix and flip done. I was trying to do a wholesale deal. I don't know how I ended up in a fix and flip. I was bidding on properties on HUD.gov and stuff, and one got approved, and I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself. It was like crazy. So that first deal happened about 8 months after I started officially like going all in. And I made 43 grand on that deal. So it was scary. It was nerve wracking.
Did you do it all by yourself?
I'm sorry?
Did you do it all by yourself?
Yeah, I did. I did raise some private capital for it, but I showed the numbers. I backed them up. I explained my comparables. I had some contingencies in there. And so I used a mixture of both, and I can talk about this, a mixture of both hard money and private money to accomplish that first deal.
So how did you structure that then? So you did mixture, was it a certain percentage, or how did you do that?
Yeah, sure. So I was working with a hard money lender, and he wanted 20% down. Mm-hmm. So then I have an uncle I went to, and I said, "Hey, look, I know you got money." Right?
Everyone has those uncles, right?
Everyone has. Well, some people do. And so I went to him, and I showed him the deal, and I said, "Look, this is what I need down." I showed him the numbers, and I did a promissory note with my uncle. So I gave him a fixed interest rate. Like I gave him like probably too much. I gave him $4,000, just flat.
Right.
I was like, "You're $4,000 if you let me borrow the 20% down." And the hard money lender was cool with that because I was like, "How am I going to figure this out?" And I was like, "Can I do this? Can I not do this?" He was like, "Yeah, as long as you can do that." And so I did hard money and private money, and I bought the property. And the rehab was the hardest because I thought that I can sub everything out, not knowing anything about real estate, right? Because I thought I was trying to like save money. That didn't work out. I ended up hiring a GC, and he helped me get it done, got everything sold, paid my uncle his money back, and took in my profit.
So did your uncle also pay for the rehab as well? So the 20% plus the rehab, or what did you do for the rehab funds?
Yeah, no, the acquisition and the rehab was in the hard money.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah. So they covered, I think it was 80% of the acquisition and 100% of the rehab.
Wow.
Yeah, and then so basically they.
Yeah. What's this guy's number?
I would give it to you, right? But I think they're just here in DC, Maryland, Virginia, and so basically I like the way they worked because this hard money lender just wanted $1,400 attorney fee, right? Yeah. And then we just did a draw schedule, built out the scope of work, and they didn't even charge for inspections. A lot of hard money lenders charge for inspections, right? Yeah. So with them, then they would come out, inspect, make sure that work was done for that week. Then they released the draw, and it was perfect. It was perfect. So.
Right. So they didn't give you, so that you purchased the property, and then as things went on, they would release the.
They released the rehab draws. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got it. That makes sense.
After the inspection, so they funded both the acquisition and the rehab, but they wanted me to put 20% down.
So how did you find this hard money seller or hard money lender?
Just networking, right? I had people in the network. I asked around. I called a lot of hard money lenders and talked to them just so I can compare and contrast. And no hard money lender is built the same. They're all so different, and they work in different ways. And so I analyzed and really spoke to a lot of them, and then moved forward. And honestly, I went with this guy just because I just liked him.
Yeah.
He had some good energy about him, and I still work with him to this day sometimes.
Oh, sure, I bet. Is it pretty standard in VA to for that type of lending for the hard money to lend the rehab?
Yeah. And the rehab? Yeah, it's pretty standard here. Yeah.
Here
they prefer.
Go ahead.
They prefer to do the acquisition and the rehab because they make more money on the interest of the rehab loans.
Because lending more money out. Okay. Here, all of our hard money lenders here in Utah that I can find, I know like a dozen of them. It's all like they'll pay 80%, 85% of the purchase price, and like that's it. So yeah. Of just the purchase price.
Isn't it crazy the differences?
Yeah.
Good thing I'm in VA, baby.
Yeah, I think I'm about to move. I mean, geez, do some deals out there.
Well, we have connections now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If he tells us who the hard money lender is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll say his name now.
Shut up.
Yeah, no. That's awesome. So after doing that first deal, I mean, for me, it was like a real. After I did like the first deal, like this is a real thing. I mean, so was it like? Did you have like an aha moment? Like I can. This is real, or was it just like, oh, cool, nothing? What was when you finally got that $40,000 in your hand? What was that like?
Yeah, I remember. So I had some debt that I had accrued like on credit cards, and I paid for like to because this is specialized knowledge, right? They don't teach us how to do business, real estate, accounting, taxes and stuff in regular school. So I paid to learn how to do this stuff, right? And I just wanted to make sure I was learning it. So when I got the check, I used my money to kind of free up because I had all this I put it all on credit cards. Yeah. So I paid those credit cards back. And then if I'm being completely honest, when you're 27 years old and 40 grand is in your checking account, I blew it.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but I hit the club. I bought all my buddies shots. We were like, I just didn't know what to do with myself a little bit. Right. I've gotten a lot more savvy with my finances and financially, but yeah, man, I blew a big portion of it, and then so I had to scramble and figure out what was I going to do.
Yeah,
so,
no, absolutely.
But yeah, I was like, holy smokes, I made this much money in 4 months. Like, this is crazy.
Right.
I used to make that in a year.
Right, exactly. That's pretty. But did your dad kind of change his tune a little bit? Because if they were kind of like the kick you out of the house, I mean, so was it? Or did it take them a couple deals for them to actually say this is a real thing? He didn't just get lucky that he's actually doing a business. When did that happen? Or if it did?
Dad still doesn't know what the heck I do. You know what I mean? What do you do? Yeah. No, after I started showing him these financial principles, I started showing him what's happening to him on his mortgage. And I said, okay, Dad, break out your amortization schedule. Let me show you this. Let me show you some numbers. He looked at me and he was like, are you my son? Like, he was like, where did you come from? Like, right. Because he just wasn't used to this Umaer. He's used to like this crazy kid that,
the one that went to the club.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's used to me like salsa dancing and stuff. I mean, I mean, now he knows and it's great, but he's kind of like just a quiet guy. But I know he's proud and he's excited that I've done something what, because you know, all your parents, they'll give you advice from their lens of experience. So I don't judge my parents, right? I love them to pieces, but they're going to give you advice from their lens of experience. So I recognize that and love them through it. So
I love that point, that comment, their lenses of experience.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
I like that.
my parents had the very similar. It was like, what are you doing? What are you're I mean, I quit my job after 12 years to do this, and they're like, "Are you an idiot? You have kids." You know, I mean, so it was very, I don't know, similar. There was some similarities, but you're 100% right. This is just what they've always been. You got to get a job, you got to do this, then you got to retire, and it was out of the norm. So they want the best for us, right? And so yeah, I think that's super insightful.
I try to stay as non-judgmental as I can with everyone, because everyone's at a different place. You know what I mean? Like I've went through some bad things and stuff like that, and just keep moving forward, figure it out.
Right. No, that's awesome. So what have you been kind of focusing on now? So you did your first flip, and then I mean, were you able to just keep that momentum going after that point, or I mean, how's that?
So now I'm really building out a business where before I would just do a deal, I'd make a check, and I tried to find another deal. Like now we're scaling things up. We've got multiple lead generation strategies. We've got VAs that are helping to do some things. We've got, we're building out a custom customer relationship management system that works specifically for my brain, because there's lots of them out there, but I wanted some specific things happening. I wanted some specific automation. So I'm doing that right now. And I'm really looking to scale the business up at this point. So right now I've been doing a lot. I've done creative finance. I've done like subject to deals. I've done wholesaling. So I've been learning, because, you know, 5 years is a long time, but it's really not that long. I'm still learning, right? And so, yeah, I'm still... Now I'm coming to a point where I'm putting my own business model together.
Sure. Do you mind? I mean, it's what is your model to keep things going so it's automated? If you don't mind sharing it.
Yeah, I could share bits and pieces of it. I've got a team putting together a front end website and a back end website. My front end is going to work similar to like the Zillows and the Redfins, because they are doing some programs on buying houses, right? I'm looking at the competition. I'm looking at some demographics. I'm like, okay, how can I do some value add? So I've got some ideas where I'm going to do some value add and compete. I'm going to compete, right? And so I'm looking heavily into competing with those local companies. And so there's a front end, and then when the lead comes in, I've got a whole back end that I've built out of processes, regardless of what type of transaction comes in, right? Whether it's if I'm going to be doing a short-term rental with this particular unit, because the person can't get a renter, where I can put a master lease agreement in place and create some cash flow that way, or whether, you know, they're ready to face foreclosure, right? There's deals that you can create. People are in pre-foreclosure, but they just don't understand how to leverage and use the equity that they have. So, or it's an apartment deal. So I'm having some front end stuff being done right now, and then my back end processes. And I hopefully I'm not. Yeah. So I've got a bunch of things, and I'm building that out right now, because I know that if I'm unfocused, I'll be everywhere, right? But I don't want to limit anyone. You know, I'm a transactional engineer at this point. I'm like, bring me whatever deal or whatever your obstacle is, because as a real estate professional, I'm really just a professional problem solver. I'm providing so much value to my sellers that my sellers want to do business with me, and they're also going to be giving me a referral, right? Like 2 months ago, I did a wholesale deal, and the lady, her husband had just passed away. She answered one of my lead generation ads or whatever. And so I helped her get into government assisted housing. She couldn't take care of the house. She was sick herself, things of that nature. So I got it under contract. And then I was going to go ahead and fix and flip it. But for me, I was getting ready to go on vacation with my wife too. And so she's really strict about me on vacation working and stuff. So, I gave it to my buddy. I wholesaled it to him. I made $15,000, but then I gave it, my buddy actually ended up making a good profit on it. But my goal with that whole story was, when I find a seller, I'm just providing that. She needed some money before so she can relocate, and she just needed some cash in her pocket. So she made money at closing. I made money, and so did my end buyer, which was a friend of mine that wanted to flip it. So if someone's going to lose in the transaction, I'd rather not be involved.
Right. Agreed. So have you had speaking of building those relationships, have you had actually people refer you and like, he bought my house and then he was great? I mean, has that happened? Or I don't know if that's...
Yeah. In a lot of different things, like even with, so a lot of people have this problem. They're like, man, I can't seem to raise private capital. I'm like, really? Because once you start helping just locals make better returns on what they're currently getting, they start telling people, right? So like these deals in Missouri right now, I'm offering, and people get like 1 or 2% in their CDs. I'm offering, if they'll do the whole thing, I'm offering 8% interest amortized over 10 years. So if they got a self-directed retirement account, it's just sitting there and they're looking to position it somewhere, 8% is great. You're looking at, I think it was like 180 grand was I'm looking for. So they'll make like $14,000 to $15,000 a year passively in their own retirement account. It's great. It's great, right? You're like, oh man, this is cool.
So to listeners that may know someone that actually has their retirement account, how would you start a conversation like that? Like, someone that has it, or has it been all kind of referring back to you? They come contact you, or how has that been? How does that initial contact happen?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I do a lot of meetup groups here at my office, and I tell people, look, there's a couple of different reasons why you may be here in this meetup today. Number one, maybe you're interested in learning. Okay, well, that's why you're here. Secondly, I have a lot of people do bird dogging and stuff for me. So I'm like, maybe you're just looking for some extra money on the side. It's holiday season, right? Or the third reason why you might be here is, you don't want to do any work. You don't want to learn anything, but you love this idea of making double-digit returns in your savings or retirement situations by working in a secured fashion in real estate. So I put that out there, and at the end of our meetups, people come up to me, they're like, listen, I like you, and I like your business model. I want to talk a little bit more, but if you can show me maybe some projects, I'd love to work with you on stuff. I'm like, okay, let's meet and have coffee. And then we just genuinely connect. And as long as you're honest and you're showing people stuff, they're like, cool, this is awesome, man. I'm going to keep my government job here in DC. I've got a family and wife. I've got money over here. I want to position it with you. And sometimes it's even backed, like this 8% that I'm offering on these Missouri deals. It's backed by a first lien position. Right. So I'm like, look, you're completely protected here. I'm going to be in operations. I'm going to do my thing. I know I'm going to make profit. You're going to make what you want, and let's just build a relationship. If it makes sense. And they always start out with $100 grand. I got $100 grand to play around with. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then everyone just they're like, all right, hey, well, I got about 200 more. And I'm like, oh, great.
Just awesome. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I forgot about this.
I'm like, good. So it's just pointing people in the right direction for what they're looking for.
Sure.
And so I've studied a lot of, when I started, I don't have any sales background. I've never sold anything. I had to learn sales. That's the number one. I mean, if you're starting out right now, you must learn sales. If you're afraid of sales and if you're afraid of talking to people like I was, I wanted to interview real estate professionals like agents and CPAs and accountants and stuff. And I'd pick up the phone trembling and I'd call, and I'd get so freaked out when agents would pick up and I'd just hang up.
Yeah.
I would just hang up. I'd just, all right, I almost had to talk. It was bad. And it was really it was like, you got to work on your self-confidence, because if you don't believe you can, no one else does.
So how did you actually make that first couple of calls? I mean, what was the driving factor that made you do it when you had that fear?
Well, I took some programs by this guy. You guys heard of Tony Robbins?
Yes. Yes. I think we went to an event together, actually. Well, we were at the same event, I should say.
Isn't that cool, man? Yeah. So Tony Robbins saved my life, man.
Yeah.
So a lot of he talks about 6 human needs approach. He talks about understanding why people do what they do. He talks about all these things. And I really started to understand my motives and what I wanted to do, as well as when I'm talking to someone, understanding what they want or need. And so I took his training. It's called the 6 Human Needs training. And now, Woody Woodward. And so I'm adding the drive system into there, and it's really understanding my customer. And once my customer understands that I understand him or her, it's a done deal.
Right.
Because I know I have a superior product.
Yeah. So that's been one of your understanding. You're building a bond with the person you're talking to. That's going to help you build that relationship, and then you can pitch them whatever it is, whether buying a house or help them out or whatever it may be. Right. That's kind of what tactic you use, right? I mean, that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. I think it's really, for me, it's been genuinely connecting with whoever I'm doing business with and providing value. Sure. And just understanding what it is that they're after and what it is that they're worried about, because then you can serve them better.
Right. Okay. Definitely. Yeah. That's true. When I'm talking to a seller, potential seller, I can help them more if I understand what they want. So yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because some people, it's like, if it's a large deal, it's like, do you really want to pay the capital gains that you're going to pay on this large chunk of money? And they don't even realize what that capital gains is. And then when you inform them, they're like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah, let me show you. And so that's been helpful.
Right. Educating them, let them know what the finding the best solution for them and you at the same time. It's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just being firm on what you're talking about. Be like, look, having them understand your business is important, right? I'm not trying to I'll even show them my numbers. I'm like, look, I'm not making a killing here. Like I'm open to showing you exactly, if I buy it at this price with my entering costs, my holding costs, and my exiting costs, look, I'm going to make 30 grand. They get it. I'm like, look, this is what I do to put food on the table. So when you start explaining it in this ways, they're like, yeah, no, I get it. And I was like, I'm willing to work with you. And they open up, and you develop a relationship and a bond, and they'll even take a picture with you at the end of when you're closing. And it's like, all right, cool.
I have a question. So do you have a lot of rentals right now?
Not right now. I had, well, my family does. And I've made my dad tie it into his trust, which he didn't have before, right? So eventually they'll be mine. But
he's like,
it's forward thinking.
So you structured it in a way that you'll get them later.
It's crazy because I deal with a lot of sellers, and I notice a lot of people don't have a will or a trust set up, and so usually after parents die, their properties, everything, their assets go through the probate process, and they're left with half. And so to mitigate against that, and that's why I'm so glad that I put it on myself to learn this stuff and understand it. And that's why I'm excited for people watching this, because maybe they're taking notes like, oh wait, I don't have that. Maybe I need to do that. So you listen to this and start taking notes and go back and do this stuff. So, but right now we had 4 rentals. I just sold one because I'm really uncertain about what the market's going to do. And I bought this little rental cash. I just saved up, bought it cash. And so I sold it recently because I want to build up my liquidity, because if for us investors, unfortunately, right, when markets crash, it's actually a good time for me because I know these assets have just come on sale, right? So I can buy eventually appreciating assets at a deep discount. So I wanted to just kind of be prepared in case something comes up. So.
Yeah, that's smart. That's kind of what I'm doing too. I'm focusing mostly on wholesale right now, just building up capital. So when houses do go on sale, that's when you pick them up, So.
Nice. I like it.
Yep.
I like it, man.
No, that's awesome. So you said you've done some creative acquisitions. So I mean, can you tell us a little bit about can you tell us maybe what was some creative deals you've done, and how did you actually get that, tied up?
Yeah, so we were just talking about rentals. So my first rental I actually purchased on seller financing.
Okay, cool. How did you tie that up?
And I didn't even know anything about seller financing except kind of like, I was like, well, I heard of it, I've taken I've taken these classes. What killed me on that deal was even when you seller finance, you're still going to pay a set of closing costs.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, I didn't know that. I don't have closing costs. I'm like calling my sister, can I borrow some money? Just a little bit, and then because I had just gotten started, so I didn't have a lot of liquidity, right? So
Right.
I did it on seller financing. There's a set of closing costs, and I structured it. Oh, my wife's calling me again. I'll call her back. And so we did owner financing. And we did it, so we amortized it over 30 years, right? But there was a 5-year balloon.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into it. I got it performing. It was making me rental money. And then he needed to be cashed out. And so I did a refinance and cashed him out.
Nice.
So you didn't do, did you have a down payment on that? I guess you didn't if you weren't expecting closing costs either, right?
Yeah, no, I did not. Yeah, so creative finance, I think, is important to understand and know, and there's so many different ways to do it.
So with the one you were just mentioning, how did you convince him not even have to do a down payment, or if this down payment wasn't even brought up? This is like, we can just do this seller financing, or how did that conversation go?
Yeah, he just wanted to get out. He was tired of it. He was tired of the everything, and I was like, look, what if you don't have to do anything and I make monthly payments to you?
Mm. So this was a rental of his. It used to be a rental. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
So he's an older guy, and he did it.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
you get 100% of what you don't ask for. So I just asked for him. So if you wanted a down payment, just ask. I don't know.
Right. Right. Worst case scenario, they say no, then you just like, okay, well, how about let's do down payment then, or whatever it is, right? Okay.
And it's so hard to deal with no, like at first. I know everyone's like, who cares? Just deal with it. No, it breaks your heart. Like heartbroken for a little bit, man. You don't want to cry. But you just gotta get heartbroken and develop tough skin, because that's just what it is.
Right. I got used to when I was in my high school years dating, so I got used to getting no's a lot. So by the time I got into real estate, I was already a pro, man. I was already good.
It's like, I got this.
Yeah, tell me no. It's not my first no. We'll keep going.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. So.
Wow.
Well, I think, is there anything that we didn't discuss?
Well, I mean, can you tell us? I mean, I like to ask 2 questions. And so, what was like your biggest failure, and what was one of your biggest successes? And you can do in any order you want, if you want to talk about it. You don't have to, but
yeah, no, I could. What was my biggest failure? I don't know. Just in general, or just real estate related? Just a failure.
You can do general, but I mean, whatever you want to talk about, right? But
I mean, I fail all the time.
Yeah.
Like I fail. Like I've just gotten used to failing, because I can't remember what instructor said this. I learned this from. He goes, your first couple of deals, or your first deal on any strategy, you're not looking to make profit, right? You're gonna fail, and through your failure, you'll eventually make profit, or somewhere along those lines. But I don't know. What was my biggest fit? I haven't lost money on a deal yet, thankfully.
I can't say the same.
I think that's important of really getting educated and being conservative and having backup strategies and alternative things that you can jump into. Biggest failures, but on this last fix and flip I did in Richmond, I made $63,000.
Wow.
All my flips have been.
I know.
Yeah, it was here in Richmond, Virginia. I bought it for $60,000 from a bank. We put $72,000 into it. and then we sold it for 225.
Wow.
But after everything, and I did use hard money on this same lender I was telling you guys about earlier, but everything was said and done, we made 63 grand, which was nice.
It's really awesome.
Yeah.
So that was your biggest profit on the flip, right? I mean, that's and you think about that. I mean, it took you a couple months to, start to finish, what, 3-4 months to do the whole thing, or what would you say?
This deal we bought in, I want to say June, and we sold in September, July, August, September. So it was like 3.5 months or so.
Right.
We bought, yeah.
I mean, you made over 60 grand, and people don't make that in a year. A lot of them, people are like you were before, 30 and 40, 50K a year is pretty good, but you made that in one fell swoop. That's why I love real estate.
Yeah, and so I just did another wholesale deal here in DC, and the guy had a reverse mortgage on it, right? And so I had to read all this reverse mortgage information. I realized what his payoff was, and he wanted to walk away with some money. So I got it under contract for, $510,000. And in this area in DC, this is like right where the presidents and senators and stuff, I mean, you get $1 million properties here, 1.2 million, 1.3 million.
Yeah.
I got it under contract for 510, and then I wholesaled it over, because the first market to crash, and when the markets do crash, is the luxury market. And I didn't want to be caught my pants down in an over $1 million deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just wholesaled it over to my buddy and made another 30 grand on that. But it's nice. These little wins, right? They help you. Yeah.
Wow.
But you got to be mindful of your budgeting. Please don't blow your money.
Don't go to the clubs.
Don't hit.
Or at
it's
least
money.
don't buy rounds for everybody.
There you go.
Everybody.
Drink from me.
And it's funny because since then, I quit drinking. It just doesn't serve me anymore. So I just don't even drink anymore. So it's awesome. Like, through your businesses and stuff, you'll change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can go back in time, and it may be something we've already kind of touched on, but if you go back in time and talk to day one, year one of you starting out investing in real estate, what word of advice would you give young you? Or what thing you would have changed or something? I'm not sure, but one word of advice, yeah.
No, absolutely. For me, my biggest obstacle has always been like dealing with contractors and stuff.
Okay.
Or just keeping them on point. So I would just tell myself to make sure you have everything on paper, right? Because there's been a couple of slip ups where I could have got things that could have really gone sour with contractors, but now I've got my contractor agreement just perfect, just the way I want it. I think that'd be a major thing, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing I would start learning earlier on is delegation. Like, I do everything, and now I'm taking courses and learning how to delegate and how to have other people do things, which is really hard for me. So starting out, I would have started studying sales and marketing a lot quicker. Because as soon as I started studying how to deal with people, how to deal with sellers, how to close properties, how to negotiate, that's when the money started coming in. Because you can know all the stuff in the world, but if you don't know human beings, if you don't know how to negotiate, then you're not going to be successful in your business. So I would have told myself, Umaer, start picking up the books. If other people are doing it and they're being successful at it, what is it that they have that you don't? Like, get on it.
Yeah.
And I would have jumped on that sales thing a lot quicker, because I'm noticing like all the big money makers, they know sales, they understand sales, and sales isn't bad. I had the wrong idea. I thought sales was bad, but no, we're being sold every day. From the things we wear, the things we choose to eat, we're being sold.
Mm-hmm.
So I would tell myself to jump on and learn sales immediately.
Right.
It took me a while to really do it.
Oh, no, for sure.
Are there any books that you recommend for that?
Yeah. I've got like Grant Cardone's Closer's Guide is a good book. I position my conversation a little bit different because he's a little bit more aggressive and a little annoying sometimes.
I've heard that.
But I still listen to him, because there might be a thing or two that he says that I can add to my repertoire.
Right.
Another really big book I recommend for people when they're starting out in business. Accounting was crazy for me. Like I started making all this money, I was like, man, what do I do? Like, and I forgot that I need to set up a tax account, right? So I'd make these checks and I'd go and spend money. Like, oh, there has to, Umair, set up your tax account, dude. You got to pay the government. So a book I recommend is called Profit First by Michael McCaluetsky. Profit First. And it's like an accounting book. Well, it's really a budgeting book wrapped around in accounting stuff, right? But Profit First has changed my business.
Nice.
It's changed my business. I've set up my accounts just like the way he teaches, and I've made some changes, and I'm making profit. I'm allocating money for my taxes. I'm putting money away for owner's comp, because what I pay me to work in the business and profit are two different things.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was like, it's just my money.
Yeah.
Things have changed. So those two books, and then other things on sales. Jordan Belfort's Way of the Wolf, good book.
That's a good one. Yeah.
He talks a lot about like tonality and positioning the conversation and what goes on.
Method. Yeah, I like
straight line thing. And I've taken bits and pieces of that and used it in my everyday sales with sellers. Yeah. And it works. It all works. You just
create what works for each person.
Yeah. Just create your own methodology of doing things, because you're going to pick up stuff from everyone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, ooh, I like that. I'm going to use that. I'm just stealing from everyone, making my own thing.
And that's all. That's the best way to do it. I mean, I think once we immerse ourselves with reading good books, like you gave us like 3 great recommendations in other books and other people, when you talked about networking, and I think we just kind of mush that all in whatever, like my system works for Jared, but it may not work great for Jana, and vice versa, but we can kind of, you just kind of mush your own little system together.
Take bits and pieces from what you learn.
Oh, and one last book. If I'm partnering up with people, I really want to make sure that we're going to make a good fit. So I have them, I think it's called Strength Finder 3.0.
I've never heard of that before.
And so with this book, I have all partners, if I JV and stuff, take the personality test, and then it'll because I have certain things that I'm like, I know me, right? And I know where my strengths are. And so it's taking people's strengths and their personality and matching them up together. And really being able to tell from the beginning of the relationship if this is going to make sense or if you guys are just not a good match.
Yeah.
So it's been helpful, right? Because now it's like, now I know what my partner in this specific thing is going to thrive at and what I thrive at. And let's just position ourselves to do what we're good at, because we're both emotionally happier and the deals get done and it's a win-win.
Oh, sure.
It's interesting. I've heard a lot about the personality testing, but with employers.
Right.
That's interesting that you have your partners do that.
I think it's genius.
Yeah.
Personally. I mean,
it's just being open and understanding each other better.
Yeah.
Dude, look, based off of this, and they're like, yeah, and that way it just develops a better relationship, I think.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's really good. Really good. So, how can our listeners get a hold of you? Do you have social media that they can reach out to you, or you email, or what? I mean,
yeah. I'm on Facebook. You guys can add me as a friend on Facebook, Umaer Haq. I can spell that out for you in a minute. I'm on YouTube. I'm really looking to build a YouTube channel as well. Everyone's on YouTube. So YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. My company is Hands On Real Estate. And
we'll have that information below the podcast info too.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to spell it out.
Just look at the notes, so they'll find it out.
Okay, cool. So you guys can find me, add me as a friend, look me up, stay in touch. I'm open to people even calling me. I don't care. I get my phone ringing. If I can, I call them back. If I don't, I'll get to it later. But anything, it's just nice to get to know people.
Sweet.
Well, we appreciate your time today.
Yeah, it's cool. Really good tips, and I like your
check out those books.
Yeah. your outlook on a lot of things is just it shows maturity and a good mindset too. It's just understanding other people's perspectives and looking and seeing through their lens and just really understanding the other person across from you or next to you. You know, it's potent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you're not going to try it now, you don't want to live life regretting, right? So I'm like, just do it.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's crazy because you even meet if like presidents can file for bankruptcy and come back and still be wealthy, then
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just, I mean, and as you learn more, you learn about bankruptcy, you learn about the different chapters, you learn about how people can come back. So people are just so fearful. Like, guys, we're not going to ever starve to death in this country. Like a McChicken sandwich is $1 something, right? So we used to worry about things like not having food or shelter. You'll be okay. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it this week, this year.
Yeah.
That's what I really think everyone should do is just do it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, man. Well, yeah, thanks again for coming on. I mean, we're excited to have people with experiences like you. So this is great.
You're coming to see us soon, aren't you?
Yeah, in February. I'm excited. We're really excited for it.
Can't wait to see you here in Virginia, my friend. It's gonna be awesome.
Right. It's gonna be awesome.
All right.
Log down some deals while you're over there.
Yeah. Get some hard money lender contacts. That's for sure. All right,
Awesome.
man.
Well,
All right.
thank you so much.
And
Have a blessed rest of the day.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
All right.
We hope you liked that podcast. Stay tuned for next Monday for a brand new podcast and a brand new guest. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.